Like everyone else, digital accessibility companies want you on a subscription. They want you paying in perpetuity. But do you actually need a subscription for website accessibility? Well, let's take a look at what I have on the whiteboard. So some common areas of subscriptions are audits and scans, and then I have a dashboard, and then we'll get to overlay widgets in a second. But with audits, this is what we really need. This is the first half of making our website accessible, is to find out what accessibility issues actually reside on the website. So an audit is extremely useful, and it can be very helpful to have an audit conducted on an interval basis. Let's say it's biannually or even annually. That could be very useful, but it's not necessary. Usually there will be a one-time audit that you will need to do just so you can bring your website up to speed as soon as possible, but an audit is not necessary on a subscription. And scans certainly aren't either. So it's important to note that scans aren't audits. There are no automated audits. Audits are always manually conducted, but scans are commonly sold with this idea that they're an audit in some form. They're not. But importantly, scans are sold as a subscription. What's very important to note is that scans are free. You do not have to pay to use a scan. And the scans that are available for free are going to flag just as many issues as the scans that are behind a paywall. The difference is typically the number of pages involved in the scan, with the premium scans being that they will scan your entire website. And so you can look at those, and then you can possibly have a dashboard, you can have accessibility reports. All of that is unnecessary. Again, we can just go back to the scans that are available for free, especially because we can only work on basically one page at a time on our website. So these scans aren't providing a lot of value, but they want you to pay for them in perpetuity. Sometimes you will hear scans referred to as ADA compliance checkers. Scans are very limited. Scans do not check for ADA compliance. They only flag a certain number of accessibility issues, and you still have to review them. There could be false negatives. There are a lot of limitations to scans. They are very useful, but again, we can get all the benefit for free. So what you want to do is you want to source your work up front to make sure that we get our websites accessible ASAP. And this is going to be the best path for not only accessibility, but to prevent litigation. So it's always best if you just get this done as soon as possible. Of course, if you're on a limited budget, you have to do what you can, but you want to keep this a one-time cost. And the way that you do that is you invest in training for your digital team. If you invest in training for your digital team, then they're not going to introduce accessibility issues as they continue on. What commonly happens is you'll have your web developers and you'll have your content managers, and they will be changing the code. You might even have your web designers who are changing the design of the website, and then things are changed, and then accessibility issues are introduced. That's what you want to stay away from. If you have all this upfront work done, maintain that accessibility by not reintroducing accessibility issues. So the way that you do that is you emphasize accessibility and you invest in training for your team. Now, audits are very helpful. As I mentioned, we need an audit for the first part of accessibility because we need to find the issues that we need to fix. It's great if you get your website audited on a regular basis, but it is absolutely not necessary. So you don't need a subscription for that. In fact, you can just come back to the same provider and then ask them later for another a la carte audit. With overlay widgets, these are also on a subscription, but again, unnecessarily so, especially because here's the killer. There's no value. It's like nominal value with an overlay widget because they don't make your website accessible. The reason I say that is because they are only rendering superficial adjustments. They don't fundamentally make your code or your content accessible. And this is commonly glossed over, but they won't make your website accessible. They won't make your website WCAG conformant. They don't make your website ADA compliant, and they don't prevent lawsuits. So it's very important to know with overlay widgets. So not only are they a subscription, but there's no value provided. Right? So with overlay widgets. So don't get an overlay widget. With dashboard scans and audits, it's really at your option, but you don't need to be on a subscription for those. If you decide you need a certain product or service, you can always come back and get that when you want to, and then you don't need to sign up for a subscription. I think the best path forward is to source the upfront work to make sure that you make your website accessible as soon as possible, and then invest in training so that you maintain that accessibility. And that's going to be your best path. But do you need a subscription? Absolutely not. That's only fitting the accessibility companies, what they want, right? That's fitting their business model, but their business model doesn't apply to your best interests. And your best interests are to take care of accessibility, but to do so without an expensive and lengthy subscription.